Hey everyone, welcome back. So, are you ready to transform your house from a battleground to, I don't know, maybe not a Zen garden, but at least a place where you hear a few less no's every day?
That's a worthy goal.
Right. So today we're all about positive discipline. We found this awesome resource with 5 super practical tips, and we're going to break them down, see what they look like in action.
What I love about these tips is they're not just like pulled out of thin air.
Yeah.
They're based on, actual child development research. So we're kind of tapping into how kids' brains are wired.
Okay, I love that. Brains over bribing and timeouts. So, tip number 1 is setting those clear expectations. Now, this one might seem kind of basic, but I gotta say, even as adults, how often do we get frustrated when expectations are fuzzy?
All the time. And it is important to remember that, what a 2-year-old can grasp in terms of expectations is
Yeah.
going to be way different than what we can expect from a 10-year-old.
Totally.
So tailoring our communication and how we approach things, it's got to be developmentally appropriate.
Yes. Imagine if your boss was like, okay, team, just have an amazing week. Make sure you get a lot done.
Oh my
You'd be
goodness.
like, wait, what does that even mean?
What are my tasks? What are my priorities?
Exactly.
Okay, so clear expectations. Now, how we actually talk about those expectations is our next tip. Focusing on the behavior, not the child.
This is so huge. And especially when we're thinking about, raising kids who have this strong sense of self-worth and self-esteem. When a kid constantly hears, you are a bad boy, or you are, a naughty girl, they start to internalize that.
Right. It gets all mixed up with their sense of who they are, as opposed to, okay, there's something I did that was maybe not the best choice.
One of the things that I read in this one resource, they use this phrase, and I just thought it was so powerful. They said, I love you, but hitting is not okay. And I just thought that was such a great example because you can still love and accept your child, but you are also establishing this firm boundary.
It separates those two things so clearly.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of, actions and those boundaries, next up is tip number 3, natural consequences.
Yes. And I think this is a place where oftentimes parents can get a little bit tripped up because we need to distinguish between natural consequences and punishment. We're not talking about, coming up with some consequence that's arbitrary. It's really letting the natural order of things play out within a safe environment, of course.
So it's less about us coming in with the punishment and more about them making the connection between their actions and oh, this is a result of that choice I made.
Exactly. Exactly. So, let's say you have a child who repeatedly, forgets to put their toys away.
Yeah.
They've been reminded, they just are not doing
It
it.
happens in my house.
Right. So instead of, a big lecture or, getting, some kind of other punishment involved, a natural consequence might be, okay, well, it seems like your toys aren't being treated very responsibly, so we're going to put them up for a little while.
They're going on vacation.
They're going on vacation.
Yeah.
So it's not about punishing. It's about, oh, if I don't take care of my things, then I might not have them to play with.
It's like that old saying, you break it, you buy it. Except we're not making them buy new toys every 5 seconds.
Exactly.
So talking about, choices and consequences and all that, that leads us perfectly to number 4, offer choices.
Yes.
I am someone who thrives on choices, even as an adult. If you give me a limited menu, I'm like, yes, this is all I have to think about.
Right. You're not overwhelmed.
Not overwhelmed. And I think kids are the same way.
Absolutely. They thrive on having that sense of autonomy. And, even if they're small choices, it makes a big difference. Now, it doesn't mean that they're calling all the shots, but giving them some controlled options.
Right. So instead of being like, put your shoes on, it's, okay, do you want to wear your red shoes today or your blue shoes today?
Exactly. Or, what are some other places, even just in a normal routine where we can offer a choice?
Oh, bedtime. Bedtime is full of, do you want to brush your teeth first or do you want to put your pajamas on?
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you want one book or 2 books?
Yes.
What pajamas do you want to wear? Or which stuffed animal gets to sleep on the bed tonight?
It's amazing how those small shifts, though, can really change the dynamic.
It really does.
Okay. We are on to our final tip. And I think this one is huge because I think it's something that I struggle with sometimes, honestly. And it is consistency.
Oh, consistency is so key.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Think about, maybe in your life you have that friend who's constantly changing plans or they say they're going to do something and then they don't.
The flake. Yeah, we all have that friend.
It's hard to trust them, right?
Yeah,
It makes those relationships difficult to navigate. And it's the same thing for kids.
absolutely.
When we are consistent with our responses, it helps their brain predict.
Oh, interesting.
And when they can predict what's coming next, it reduces anxiety.
Oh, that makes sense.
It allows them to really internalize those expectations. And over time, that leads to them being able to self-regulate better.
Because
What's
they
that?
have that foundation. It's like we are the contractors for their little emotional houses, and we want to make sure that foundation is strong.
There you go. It all comes back to the house metaphor.
It always does. We've got to end with a house metaphor. No, but I think that's so powerful. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive on positive discipline, what's like the biggest thing that you hope that listeners will take away?
More than anything, I want to really encourage listeners that there's no such thing as a perfect parent.
Oh, I love that.
This is a journey, and it's about finding what works best for your unique kiddo and your family dynamics. And what works for your family might look different than what works for mine, and that's okay.
Yes, there are many paths up the mountain.
Exactly.
Love it, love it.
But as you continue on your parenting journey, here's just a thought to kind of chew on.
Okay.
How do you think that your own childhood experiences, the way you were disciplined growing up, shaped who you are today?
That's a great question.
And could these positive discipline techniques offer, maybe a different path forward?
Ooh, I love that. It's like breaking those cycles.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. This is so good. Thank you so much for this deep dive today.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like you should do this like once a week at least. Just like process all the things.
Let's do it.
Okay. But for now, to all of you listening, thanks for joining us. We hope you feel like re-energized. Maybe you have some new tools in your back pocket. And remember, you got this. We are all in this together.